The Cecil Hotel, it was almost like it was waiting for her to arrive. She disappeared, as if into thin air. I believe that she chose this path because she was being told to. Welcome to Freaked Out with your psychic medium host, Liz. Look, I have a proper chair. No signs up yet, but that's a Landon fault, so we can blame him for that. But anyways, guys, we were going to be covering Cindy's song today, but honestly, like, so much has been going on this spooky season. I'm just strictly sticking to really creepy cases for the rest of the month of October. So I thought it would be exciting to share. We will be covering Elisa Lam. Yes, I know we were going to cover this anyways, but I wanted to get a head start on it because, oh my gosh, I discovered so much about this case recently and I could not wait another second to share. Oh, but before we get into this, of course, we had Mr. Joseph Barcy do that to my pictures in my bedroom. And in addition to that, whilst my daughter, Selena, say hi to her, had actually been doing the editing and also putting up the episode, there were glitches. Our first time having glitches since being on YouTube, might I add. So he is one hell of a freaky ass spirit and somebody who does not like people to talk about him. So everybody say hello to Joseph and his creepy energy, honestly. He's one hell of a creep. All right, let's get into Elisa. Now, first and foremost, we do want to mention that we've actually talked about Elisa Lam on our podcast previously, so this is just a revamping. But I have spent a lot of time talking to her because she's one of my only cases I've covered in the past that had some sort of entity related phenomenon. So of course I'm going to keep continuing to speak to her on it. And she is somebody who is interested in staying very active. So we might have Elisa come in for other episodes in the future surrounding the Cecil Hotel. So watch out for that soon. But today's episode is creepy AF, so just prepare for that, okay? I know I am. So I'm going to give you public record, my psychic impressions, and also talk about a pretty evil entity that I believe is one of the main entities attached to Cecil Hotel. But I do want to also mention this is an ongoing investigation. So if you do happen to have any details surrounding Elisa Lam's case, contact the LAPD and provide them all of that information so that this can become a solved case. Now, Elisa Catherine Lam, was only 21 years old at the time and desperate for some growth out of her home. She wanted to see the world. She wanted to stop living under her parents' thumb. Now she is a fellow Canadian. Yay! She was actually born in Vancouver, Canada, Jelly, and she was born to immigrant parents. She was also a student of the University of British Columbia. She was hella smart. But Elisa was just more than her academics. She was also someone who's extremely creative. She was pretty private, but I think she was only private because her family was just on top of her 24/7, so much so that she needed that privacy where she kind of spilled all of her details into her journal. She also did sketches as well. She loved vintage clothing and obscure music. She wasn't flashy, but she was certainly interested to see what she could obtain in her life. And she was brave enough to travel alone. Now, mind you, she is from Canada, and we don't necessarily get to see the deep, dark parts of the US a lot. It's always hyped, but it never really necessarily talks about the scary shit going on in the world. So she was a little bit unprepared for what was to come. She thought she was going to go to LA, have one hell of a journey, live her life finally, and she did not anticipate it to be, well, as it was. She liked postcards, which is interesting because she wants me to get some postcards and I don't know, collect them for her or something. I don't know. But that one was kind of cool. I thought that was cool. She likes architectural things, and she was somebody who was organized. She actually had a list of places she wanted to go and see and things she wanted to do while traveling. My kind of girl, I am the same way. And she did a lot of blog posts as well, which did show her humorous side, her honesty, and her struggle with her mental health. She was not a reckless female either. She was fairly careful, but did want to live on the edge a little bit more than she did. But her curiosity is honestly what really caused her to not be here anymore. The Cecil Hotel, it was almost like it was waiting for her to arrive. Now, in January of 2013, Alisa checked in to the Cecil Hotel in downtown LA. And then on January 31st, she disappeared, as if into thin air. Now, days later, after guests were complaining that there was low water pressure, a strange taste in the water, they sent up a maintenance man to go and check it out. Her body was found in the rooftop water tank. And then on top of that, they really didn't have much information. There was footage released of her in an elevator. And this was actually showing Elise acting erratically, pressing buttons, stepping in and out of the elevator, and then she was making some gestures into the hallway. Now, I know people thought she might have been having a manic episode, and although that may be accurate, I really don't believe that this was manic and manic only. This particular building isn't just old, it's layered. It is grief on top of grief on top of grief. Plus, a lot of violent acts happened there as well. It honestly feels like parasites, entity related parasites, are kind of embedded in the wall. And the only way to somewhat remove this energy from the Cecil Hotel is for it to be burned to the ground and then remove all of those ashes, soot, and whatever's left over and start over. And even then, I'm not 100% sure that it would dispose of everything. It'll at least get rid of a little. Now, when it comes to the elevator moment, what happened? Now, I see something way more than just paranoia. I see a demonic energy attached to her. So, because she was such a good girl, and because she was already someone who had a lot of mental health issues, plus she was a virgin, there are so many pointed signs to her suggesting that she's a prime candidate for an entity to take over, because that's not the kind of person that would go there. Yeah, okay, there are innocent people that travel to this hotel, I'm sure, on a daily basis, but Alisa was an energy that could be easily persuaded very, very quickly, and there's just something about her. And honestly, I believe that she chose this path because she was being told to. Like, I feel like this entity already had some sort of attachment to her before she even went on her journey. And then, of course, it was like saying, come here, come here. So she did exactly that, which is why things happened so rapidly. Because when a demon takes over your body or there's some sort of possession involved, it's a process. It can take a couple of months to a couple of years, but I really believe it was latching onto her way before she got there. So that's my first take on that. And the way she was behaving in the elevator also shows me that she was trying to fight whatever the hell was attached to her. She shows me that the first night that she went to sleep, she saw something in her dreams. It was almost like some sort of boy, like a very good looking boy, someone similar to an attractive person that she might have gone to school with that she never had the balls to speak to. But it was like the entity disguised itself in this boy's body and said, come with me, come with me. And hell yeah, it's a dream she's going to go and enjoy. And that's when I believe this entity took over. And throughout the day, weird things were happening. But entities have stronger energy at night. And this particular entity is also extremely powerful, has connected and been attached to others in this hotel as well. And we'll get into that when we cover the Cecil Hotel on its own. Now, when it comes to the rooftop and the tanks, it's as if she already knew exactly where she was going when she got there. And of course she didn't. She'd never been there in her entire life. This entity grabbed hold of her and took her to where she needed to go. Now, when it comes to the rooftop side of things, from what I can see, it wasn't that she was trying to go in the tank. I see that the demon was trying to take over her body fully. And in order for a demon to do that, the soul must die. And then they can latch onto that energy and make them a lot stronger. And that's exactly what I believe this entity was leading her to do, to get herself in that tank, because she was also trying to get away from it. She was fighting it the whole time in the elevator. There are a lot of moments we did not see in her room. She has a little bit of memory of what happened, but there's a lot of darkness because there were moments where she was not herself. She fought it even in the tank. She shows me she was a fairly strong swimmer. And even in that moment, when she went into the water, she kept popping back up. And yes, that tank was shut closed behind her by this entity. The other thing she wants to point out, there are a lot of other ways that she would have chosen to die. Not to say that she was going to, because she did have mental health problems. She would have gone more with the, in a bathtub. She even says she would have jumped off of the roof before she would have done that to her. The whole idea of her drowning, she's showing me that that would have been the absolute last way she would have wanted to die. Alrighty, now here's some questions that she wants to answer for you guys that you guys have had for me over the last few years. So what was Alisa feeling in that moment whilst in the elevator and also other places during the time she was in the hotel? So she kept showing me a lot of paranoia, feeling trapped. Like, when somebody's holding on to you, even if it's just to be like tickled or held down, even as a kid, our parents would hold us down and oh, I'm gonna get you. Like, she just felt this, I gotta get away. And she was trying to get away from this thing and it did not let her go. She was also hearing things that were not her own words. like, I hate you, you're a piece of shit, go die. Like, it was trying to encourage her to commit suicide. It was very, very strong, and Alisa had no control over her body. Now, was she drugged? Absolutely not. Now, she's showing me that there were some drugs that she was taking to kind of help her with her mental health issues, but above and beyond that, hell no. She didn't try anything. She wasn't interested in it. Even outside of the hotel, a lot of the people in that area, Skid Row, kind of super sketchy in her mind, scared, it freaked her out. She would not have engaged and taken any sort of drugs one way or another. She was also someone not to roam the streets at nighttime. So I don't feel like that was at all something she did. So somebody asked who the last person to see her alive was. Now, other than people that are just walking around aimlessly, like physically talking to her, the last person was her roommate, a woman. And she was snarky. And I believe her roommate was a little bit on the racist side. She's a very sweet girl, very shy when you first meet her. And this other girl is not at all like that. And then, of course, when you're young, you're going to make those cut comments to people. And that's kind of what happened with her. They didn't have like a bad interaction, but the interaction wasn't nice. It was like, have fun when she was going out. So that was the last person she spoke to before she died. And somebody asked me, was she able to like access these tanks without any of the staff knowing? And although she did it, clearly got away with it, specifically the demonic energy, but she was showing me too, like the staff were not totally engaging. They weren't paying attention to what people were doing in their rooms. They weren't trying to like do anything to try to like help customers or, try to just pay attention to what was going on. There was a lot of people that worked there that were doing things they shouldn't have been doing, like taking extra smoke breaks or, hitting on other people that worked there. But their night staff was not at all as due diligent as their day staff. And even the day staff, not as due diligent. So the question people often ask me as well is, was there any evidence? Is there any evidence? What happened to it? Now, she does show me that there was a lost and found. And I know the lost and found is used to help people, but sometimes people take things from there, whether they're homeless, trying to obtain clothes or items or whatever the case may be. And that's what she shows me. She shows me that some of her items were put in the lost and found. Obviously, because she didn't check out, she had all of her shit in the room too. But she's telling me that there were some items that would have been a dead giveaway, well, at least for those who believe, of what had taken place. She's showing me there was like a book, there was like a couple of photos, there's like a scarf. There's a few things in that lost and found that were over there. And again, as time progressed, nobody looked in that lost and found other than these homeless people, and the homeless people were able to obtain it. So the evidence may still, in fact, be out there somewhere, somewhat in a dirty place, but not accessible to us who would be trying to, like, let's say, solve this case. And she's also showing me like a mini journal. So she might have been writing as well. And that may have been something that was also not recovered. And she's telling me that she was writing the way she was feeling in those moments, not every moment, but the very, very beginning stages of what was happening to her. She's also referencing a maintenance box. Now, I don't know what a maintenance box is because I don't do anything like that, but like, maybe that means that the maintenance box had some evidence on it to prove something surrounding her going up to the roof. I'm not exactly sure what, but she just referenced the maintenance box. Now, somebody asked me previously what this entity looked like, and Creepy AF. How about that? It has 3 horns and it's got like a green like essence around it. 1 horn here and 2 horns on its head. I've looked up the demon side of things in my demonology books, and I cannot find any demon that is similar to this or in the books. So for me, that just points to either 2 ways. This demon is not at all noted anywhere. B, this demon came about within this particular hotel and has kind of blossomed and bloomed there. So it might be on the newer side of things. And by new, I'm talking like 50 to 100 years old, or however long the hotel has been around. This demon is like skeletal looking, very sharp teeth. It does have like a bald head, but a couple of hairs. You know what he looks like, but with horns? The Jeepers Creepers dude, not the actual movie, but that guy at the beginning, the Skin and Bones guy. He used to have his own show. I'll put a picture up right here. Anyways, him. He is what this thing looks like to me, but green and thinner with horns. There's also like a venom breath. So when he's trying to capture his people, it's like he spits out this green, gooey, nasty breath shit, and that's what pulls people in. And of course, during their dreams. Okay, Freddy Krueger. It has rings on its fingers, and it also carries a crown because it thinks it's royalty. Now, this entity doesn't prefer females or males. It likes just about anyone. And I believe that a lot of people in the Cecil Hotel are also connected to this thing. Okay, now, the other thing that I have been spending a lot of time on is this thing's name. I kept seeing like raw meat, and I was like, ew, what the hell is that? Thankfully, it is not raw meat, but Ramiel. Ramiel is the name. Alisa was the one who really wanted me to share that. So Ramiel the demon, and I cannot find anything on this thing. But if anyone knows anything to connect it to Ramiel, please let me know in the comments because I'd love to know. The symbolism behind this thing though, 3 horns means a dominant energy demon. The green mist represents like infecting those. The crown represents ruler, but I don't feel like they're a ruler. I feel like they did that on their own. And the other crazy thing is this. Alisa is not trapped at the Cecil. But what I found out, when there is a full moon or it's Halloween or some other demonic type of like holiday time frame where the veil is thin, then those spirits like Alisa and like all of the other spirits that were taken over by this guy have to go. And I do believe she's gone like crossed over energy, like I see that. But I'm also seeing it's almost like she went to go crossover. She has the ability to do so. But because of this entity and also herself and things not being technically solved and her death being more paranormal than anything else, she's kind of stuck in a way. So maybe a part of her has crossed over, but a huge part of her has not. And it is like forever stuck in that Cecil Hotel until that thing burns down. There were also a couple other things that I want to point out here surrounding the people that worked there. A maintenance worker remembers a service door being left propped open at midnight. Make it easier for them to keep getting in and out without using keys. Again, very lax type of workers. A cleaner says they heard whispering near the tank. It's not that I don't believe her, because I definitely do, but I think she was hearing the entity, and the entity was like, hey, you want to be my next victim? Like, that's the vibe I'm getting there. I don't see that it was Alisa at all. And apparently a guest had heard footsteps above them on the roof. That I believe. Heavy, heavy footprints. Demons, that's something that they cannot prevent, but when they walk heavy. Alisa was tiny. You're not gonna hear much of that unless there's some sort of fight. Now, like I said, there are so many other people, like the Pigeon Lady, Richard Ramirez, aka the Night Stalker, which this demon also had a big hand in that. There was also Jack Underweger, another serial killer. Not to mention the Black Dahlia had spent some time there as well. But honestly, guys, this Cecil Hotel scares the bejesus out of me, but I so want to go. Not go inside, maybe go inside, but I want to go there and I want to see what else I feel. And one day, Landon and I are going to make it happen. But anyways, guys, that is everything that I have on Elisa Lam today. If you guys have any more questions, please drop them in the comment section. I cannot wait to hear what you guys have to say. And I did want to mention next week's episode will be about Ed Gein, aka the new Netflix series coming out for the monsters. OMG, I cannot wait to dive in. There's a lot we have to talk about, the victim side of things as well. Until next time, guys, stay freaked out.